5 iPhone 14 Pro Max display facts you should know. A few days ago, Apple unveiled brand new Apple phones at this year's fall conference. Specifically, we saw the iPhone 14 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. As far as the classic model is concerned, we didn't see many improvements compared to last year's 13 inches. But this is not the case with the Pro models, where there are more than enough innovations available and worth it, for example, in terms of the display. In this article, you should know 5 interesting facts about the iPhone 14 Pro Max display. Display engine takes care of the display and saves battery. The display must use OLED technology to use an always-on display on the phone. This is because it displays the black color by completely turning off the pixels at that point, saving the battery. The classic always-on display of competitors looks like it completely turns off and displays only a minimum of some information, such as the time and date, to save battery. However, Apple has perfected the always-on feature. iPhone 14 Pro Max doesn't turn the display off completely. It just darkens the wallpaper you set, so it's still visible. In addition to the time and date, widgets and other information are also displayed. Theoretically, this means that the always-on display of the new iPhone 14 Pro Max must be having a very negative effect on battery life. However, the opposite is true, as Apple has implemented the display engine in the new A16 Bionic chip, which completely takes care of the display and ensures that it does not consume excessive battery and that there is no so-called display burn-in. The maximum brightness is incredible. The iPhone 14 Pro features a 6.1 display, while its bigger brother, the 14 Pro Max, offers a 6.7 display. These are the same displays in terms of features, technology, and specs. Specifically, they use OLED technology, and Apple has given them the Super Retina XDR designation. For the new iPhone 14 Pro Max, the display has seen improvements such as maximum brightness, which typically reaches 1000 nits, 1600 nits when displaying HDR content, and up to a whopping 2000 nits outdoors. By comparison, iPhone 13 Pro Max offers a typical maximum brightness of 1000 nits and 1200 nits when displaying HDR content. Enhanced promotion provides always-on functionality. As you'll know, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has always-on functionality that keeps the display on even when you lock the phone. For the always-on mode not to consume the battery excessively, it needs to be able to reduce its refresh rate to the smallest possible value, ideally 1 Hz. And that's exactly what adaptive refresh rate, called promotion, does on iPhones. While the iPhone 13 Pro Max was able to use a refresh rate from 10 Hz to 120 Hz, the new iPhone 14 Pro Max takes us right down to the 1 Hz to 120 Hz range. But the truth is that Apple still lists a refresh rate of 10 Hz to 120 Hz on its website for the new 14 Pro Max models, so realistically 1 Hz only uses always on, and there's no way to get to that frequency in normal use. The dynamic island is not dead. One of the major innovations Apple has introduced with the iPhone 14 Pro Max is undoubtedly the dynamic island, which is located at the top of the display and has replaced the legendary cutout. The dynamic isle is thus a pill-shaped cutout, and it didn't earn its name for anything. Apple has made this protrusion an integral part of iOS, as it can expand and enlarge in all sorts of ways based on the apps you open and actions you take, and display the data or information you need, i.e. the time when the stopwatch is running, etc. Many users think the dynamic island is a dead part of the display, but the opposite is true. The dynamic island can detect touch and, for example, open the corresponding application, in our case, the clock. Outdoor visibility is much better. In a previous paragraph, I mentioned the maximum display brightness values, which have increased significantly on the new iPhone 14 Pro Max. As well as being appreciated when looking at beautiful photos, you'll also appreciate the increased brightness outdoors on a sunny day, when ordinary displays often don't show much because of the sun. Since iPhone 14 Pro Max offers up to 2000 nits of outdoor brightness, the display is twice as easy to read on a sunny day. iPhone 13 Pro Max produced a maximum brightness of 1000 nits in sunlight. However, the question is what the battery will say, i.e. whether there will be a significant reduction in endurance during prolonged outdoor use.